Hi guys, welcome back. You're still on RxJava on Android. RxJava is a library for composing asynchronous and event-based programs, which is integrated into Android. And we're going to be extending more on this. We'll be adding the Recyclerview functionality UI to the integration on this video. Basically, it was built using list view, but we're actually going to look at the way we could handle the Recyclerview with the RxJava code using retrofit. So actually going to be headed straight to the source, and I won't be going through all the source because I've actually covered that in the video, which you can actually get the link, and we'll only be pointing on where to integrate the Recyclerview functionality. Firstly, you need to add the dependency, the Android support design 25.3.1, which houses different functionality, the coordinator layout, the swipe refresh, the Android support version 4, and so on. When it comes to tweaking up the Android UI, you have a lot right there in this library. So that's cool. You have to sync your Gradle after including this compile, and you have to do some little changes. You move straight to the activity main, where you have the list view being declared. You have to just comment that out and introduce the Android Recyclerview, which you can see the version 7 widget. Make the layout height to be wrap content, and the width to be match parent, so that you won't see unduly large spaces between items. So you have that set up with the layout weight, which will actually give a two pane, or let's say two views to the display. So you have the first display as the Recyclerview, while the second will be the linear layout for the search of the username, which you're actually going to use to search for the start repo. So cool. Once you introduce it that way, the item GitHub repo will still be intact. You'll have no changes with that. You could use this with the list view and at the same time with the Recyclerview. Let's move further from here. You are straight to your Java classes. In the main activity, where the get start repos method was called, and the uncompleted and on error methods were overridden with the on next, where you get to set those objects to the adapter. So you actually need to make a few changes here. Comment out the list view adapter and introduce the Recyclerview, which you have here. Initialize it by calling its ID and set the adapter, because you're going to create a new adapter class, which you're going to have an object of it called Recycler Adapter. You have it right here, called the GitHub Recycler. We get to look at that class after this. You instantiate this so that you can be able to use an object from that class. So you set the adapter to that, and in Recyclerview, where you should be familiar with this, we only have some few layouts we could play around with. We have the linear layout manager, we have the grid and the staggered grid. The Flexbox was introduced also to actually give a different UI to the grid, so you could actually on all those functionality. We were using the linear layout manager, which will actually have it in the list item. So you have that set up, and you instantiate that to set the layout manager to the Recyclerview. Cool. So those are just the little changes you need to do, and you need to set the adapter now to the GitHub repos. You will be having this GitHub repos method right there in the adapter class, where you get to set each of the objects of the list to this adapter. Let's get to look at that quickly. The GitHub repo, the GitHub Recycler rather, we have the GitHub repo adapter for the list, but now this is the Recyclerview. This is a different approach, which we're going to do. This extends the Recyclerview adapter, as we all know, and we have the GitHub repo view order generic class as the content there, and the context, and after that we have the list item, which is instantiated to an array list called the GitHub repos. Cool. A constructor of the class, which actually takes the context and initialize the context. so it's actually going to be usable. And in the recycler adapter, you need to override few methods. You have to override the onCreate view order, the onBind view order, and the get item count. Those three methods are very key to the Recyclerview adapter. In the onCreate view order, that's where you get to initialize to inflate up the list item, and the list item here is the item GitHub repo. So that's the item where you're gonna bind data to. So very important. And on the onBind view order, you get to bind data to the view. So you have to actually pass in the order parameter and the position of each of these recycler item. And the items you'll be binding to each of the view. That's going to be each of the item as a whole. You're going to bind the repo name, the repo description, the language, and the stars, how many stars as the repo has. So you're going to actually get that done by setting the text to each of these. You're going to use the Pojo, which is actually the GitHub client here. It's actually going to be the GitHub repo over here, which actually has those values. Set them there, and you'll be able to extract those value back. You have this Pojo to use right there. So you get the position and pass the name. You get the position, pass the description, you pass the language, and you pass the staggered count. So that's cool. Now the major focus will still be on the set GitHub repos, because you'll be wondering, where will data get to the adapter? It's true here. Looking back to the main activity, you call this method right here when you set the GitHub repos to the object you continue to have on next until it gets to the last of the list. So this will all be added to this method, which is right there in the adapter. So you have to take that into cognizance. And at the point in time, what you're going to be doing with all this bunch that's been added, you add all to a list, which is the GitHub repos, which we've actually created here, instantiated with the array list. You continue to add each object to that list, and you notify data set changed at the point of adding. So that will actually be changing up the UI of the Recyclerview. Very important. And the get item count, you should also take cognizance of that as well. You have to count the size, that's the number of items you have in the list of this GitHub repo. So cool. With that, you've actually set that up, and you could have an inner class which could extend your adapter. Probably you could add a non-click listener to each of the items, which could get you to the detail page. You could actually do that in the onClick here, when you have to set the onClick listener to the item view. So from there you could extend more by passing a pass label, or you pass an intent, set the extras of each of the objects or the keys that you needed, so the values will be followed, and you get that right there in the calling activity, which could be the detail activity. And you need to initialize the fields that were used to bind in the onBind view order, which is the repo name, which is a text view. We declare the fields right there, and you initialize them right there in the constructor, which is the GitHub repo view order. This is actually the view order class that actually holds on to the bind data. This is the strength of the data. This is where you can actually extend more from the data, and at the same time you could bind using the onBind view order. So with all this explanation, it's quite simple and direct, straightforward, just like the way the list view actually is as well. So you could actually play around with any one of them. Either you use the list view or use the recycler view to actually bind data from the RxJava class, which is embedded right there in Retrofit core, which is quite robust for Android. Majorly if you use RxJava, it's going to be very much recommended to also use Retrofit to actually make your network calls, because Retrofit has an embedded form of RxJava right inside it to make beautiful asynchronous discharge of data. So that's just that for now, and I'll be leaving you that. I'll be actually creating a branch of this to my GitHub, so you can actually pick up the source code and use it any form, in any way you feel like using it. Thank you guys for hanging out with me throughout this short tutorial, and I hope you really got one or two things to learn from this. And catch me up in the next tutorial. And for now, have a wonderful time. Bye bye.